For every season, there is a reason. October 2018, the winter of discontent. I was a 56-year-old woman who had been single mother for 13 years with no financial support from her ex-husband. Over the years, I'd suffered with several illnesses, including encephalitis, meningitis, and just before FFU, I had a stroke. My way of surviving was working hard, getting sick, getting into debt, recovering, going back to work, working hard and getting sick again. And my so-called saving grace was 0% credit cards. I'd become a real genius at applying and swapping them around so that I kept moving them around 12 cards to make ends meet. Until one day I realised that I just couldn't keep up the repayments for the debt that I'd incurred of £22,000. So, with crutch in hand, I hobbled into FFU, desperate to find a way out of my financial hardships and looking for a new way of being, as this one was literally killing me. Anne showed and talked about possibilities that I had long given up on. And she gave me hope that I could have abundance again, not just in money, but in a lifestyle that I thought was for others only. Somehow I found myself standing in the queue to sign up for Wealth Builders, and I really wasn't sure how I hobbled over to that desk, but I actually think I must have been teleported or something. But I do remember standing there quivering. And I remember asking Anne, is this really right for me to be doing this when I'm already 22,000 in debt? And Anne's reply was, what if you don't? The fear of continuing on the path of debt and bad health was far greater than the fear of signing that form. But a little voice said to me, if it's meant to be, then it's up to me. 2 weeks after paying that money, I received a cheque for £4,500 from the Inland Revenue from an unexpected overpayment. So I was really, really happy because I knew that I was on the right lines. So my winter of discontent started into my spring, and I saved over £800 just looking at my insurance and utilities. I implemented my wealth pots, and I absolutely love that because I can spend money on me without feeling guilty because I have money in a pot for fun, for holidays and for education. I opened up a stocks and shares ISA and I regularly put money into that. Wow, who would have thought Maria Tucker having stocks and shares? I found a long lost pension that I had with a previous company 20 years ago, and after transferring it, which was a feat and a half, I now have access to £82,500, which means that I can actually put that as part of my estate, and I can also pass that on to my family should anything happen to me. So my spring was such fun and learning new things, new ways, which led into my awesome summer. And one of my goals that I put on my list right at the beginning was to have my very own buy-to-let property. But inside that little head was once again saying, who are you? Who are you to have a property? That's for others. But sometimes things happen in a way that you would never dream of. At the time of joining Wealth Builders, I'd been going out with Darren for 13 years, and it was a long distance relationship, and it was a minimum of 3 hours road between us, which meant that we could only meet each other once a month. I suppose the good side of that was we didn't have to fight for the TV control most of the time. Hannah finished uni and moved to London, and Darren surprised me in December by gifting me with his late mother's flat, which is literally 3 minutes from him, so that we could get to know each other better on a full-time basis. It was the hardest thing I've ever done to get rid of my possessions and move out of my lovely 3-bedroom house in a peaceful rural area to live in a 2-bedroom flat in a really built-up, noisy part of town. Really hard. But Anne helped me to see that I attached success to my house. It was not, that thing which was bricks and mortar was somehow my success. I owned it, but did I? I didn't own it all because it was mortgaged. And I eventually moved in February of this year. Unfortunately, I did have a relapse and ended up back in hospital in June, which was a really scary time for Darren, me and Hannah, but made me totally realise that this is no dress rehearsal. And thank goodness for my safety net, because £224 statutory sick pay for a whole month is not enough to keep a bird alive. My recovery was accelerated by being part of Wealth Builders, as I stayed focused on building my life rather than destroying my life. And that house move enabled me to change my residential mortgage to a buy-to-let. So I now have my first buy-to-let, yay! And I withdrew some money from the house and I am now completing on my second buy-to-let. So I am just like over the moon about that. So now I have a regular income that is coming in outside of my salary. So I can say that my biggest win actually is that Darren is still with me. And over the last couple of months, he too has joined the men's group and is attending FFU 2019. Hannah also is now doing her wealth pots and asking so much more about wealth. And Maxine and Anne have held such a beautiful space for me to laugh, to cry, to celebrate, to guide me, to advise me. And they have been one of the biggest inspirational leaders that I've ever met. And I say thank you from the deepest part of my heart. Wealth Builders has helped me to see who I really am. And I have now set up the foundations of a successful business, which has taken me a very long time to do. So here I am in the season of autumn, a time to reap benefits from all that I've achieved and celebrate that harvest. My debt has gone from 22,000 to 10,000. My safety net is at 6,000, and I have a lifetime bunch of friends with Wealth Builders and FFU, and they have played such an important part of my life. My ISA continues to grow on a monthly basis, and I no longer need the crutches of life. And I am alive, and I am saying, as we go into our winter, remember, no one lives forever. Slow down and enjoy each season as you travel through life. You only get one chance on earth, so make it worthwhile. What if you don't? Much love to you all.